love how it's David's views, not what's David and Martin's views or Martin and David's views. It's just David's views. On the board, putting the club up for sale, it seems the only route out of our misery.
Well, there's two questions. It's should they and will they? Right? Should they? I think yes. I think they should be explored. I think people should always be exploring that. Other routes to new investment, other routes to new ideas, right? And they should be finding out what's on there. Will they? Then I don't think the answer is yes to that at all. I don't think they've got any interest in selling up and leaving. The other thing is that for someone to come in and take Rangers over is actually very difficult. It's not a single purchase, because you don't have a shareholder who owns, 90% in the way that, say, David Murray did. You've got a lot of shareholders with reasonable size, 10 to 15% stakes. So you need to do 6 deals, really, to get that controlling interest. And you need to therefore have 6 willing sellers. And it was deliberately built like that, this ownership model, because they don't want to be at the whim of one person. Where it hasn't worked, of course, is that we've been ruled by committee, and it's looked like that. The old phrase, a camel is a horse designed by committee, and that's what Rangers have been. Certainly we've looked like donkeys often enough. So I think you should always be checking what's happening in the market. And, football clubs at the moment, there's a lot of interest in them. Now, yes, we get it. England, right? That will be the number one target for people. But a prestige, but there are people who want to own football clubs for prestige reasons, and we are a prestige brand and a prestige name and a prestige club. So it's definitely something I would like to see them considering. But I've seen no evidence whatsoever. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm privy to the thoughts of every single director, because I'm not, but I've seen nothing to indicate that enough of them want to do that to head out the door. And then you get people who say, well, we can force them out. And this is something I've learned the hard way, right? Because I tried this. I tried to force David Murray out, and I tried it with protests, and, we organised protests, and we did all the stuff, and we agitated the media. All the stuff that people say, you should be out there doing, and, you're only not doing it because you're a coward. And I'm like, well, firstly, mate, I have actually done this once. Have you? Well, for years, not once. I've done this. Have you ever done anything? And and secondly, you've got an anonymous account on Twitter, and I'm the cowardly one. But the reason that I always say to people is that it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. This is the thing. It doesn't work. And they'll go, oh, no, we have the power. And what that is fans trying to, understandably, but they're trying to gain control over something of which we have no control over. We love football, right? But you know, the thing, we'll go and protest, right? And I'm like, right, okay, you go and you protest. And what happens if they don't want to sell it then? Now, a lot of the people that we're talking about don't live in Scotland. Mm-hmm. So they're not at the game. So how is a protest going to have any impact at all on their lives? They live thousands of miles away. They live in different continents, different time zones. So, second of all, there are a couple of the directors that are just completely, if you did that, if you told them we want you to go, they'll dig their heels in further. That's just what they're like as people. Is why they've been successful in their business career. So I think that it is difficult to try and force change. If it was possible, then or easy, then Manchester United wouldn't be owned by the Glazers. Right? It's been 20 years.
We just keep getting compared to Man U right now. It's such a good
there's
comparison.
A lot of similarities, yeah. But Everton fans have been trying to get out Mashiri for years. And why is he leaving now? Because somebody's come up to buy it off him, somebody with money. And, there are other clubs in England where people have been trying to get rid of the owners for a while. And then eventually, after years, the owners sell up. Mike Ashley at Newcastle is another example of that. Why did there was 20 years of protests about Mike Ashley. When did he leave? When Saudi Arabia came and paid him for it. Money moves money in football. And it's the only thing that moves money in football. Money is the driver. So protests and stuff are a nice idea. And I know why people cling to them. They cling to them with the idea of, if only we did this, it would fix it. right? Because it's easier to believe that you actually could do something. It's David Edgar's fault because he'll no organise it, right? Because one, that gets you off the hook of having to do anything, and two, it makes you think there is an easy solution when there isn't an easy solution. The only thing is, if someone comes along with enough money and the determination, and then fans can play a part, by the way. Fans can get behind and say, we want you to speak to this person. You obviously have to be guarded about who's coming in and do your research and, not be swayed by promises that might not be true. That's when, but anything without money in football, in modern football, doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. And you're absolutely right. There is a few directors who will absolutely dig their heels in. And one of them owns a car company. But
yeah. And if the more that the less chance it is. So you need people to want to sell. Now,
he would sell if the right deal came along.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly. I was going to say. Now, does that mean that Rangers are absolutely categorically not for sale? No, not at all. It does not mean that. But it means that people have to come along who have the finance in place and the determination to make the deal happen, because it's not a 3 phone call job, this one. And if that was to happen, but until we get people coming along with funds, and then people pointed to the American thing, that Kyle Fox thing, and they said, well, she had no money, right? She had an idea that she was going to take over the club and raise money. No, right? We need somebody who comes along who's got deep pockets and can say, right, I'm going to buy this club and this is what I'm going to do with it. And even at that, as we've mentioned time after time, we could get bought tomorrow by someone in the United Arab Emirates who's got billions and billions. We can't go out and spend 100 million in this window, right? Manchester United, again, the comparison, but it just was the first one that sprung to mind. They're talking about needing to sell Kobe Mainu and Rashford and Garnacho because it's pure profit, because they're worried about, in the wrong end of these PSR rules, right? This is football now. So I've never really agreed with it, because my thing is, if you let these people come in and own a club, you can't stop them spending their own money, surely.
No.
Right.
No, and by the way, just on that as well, see if people think that the Parks and your Kings are unreasonable. Wait until you've got a billionaire that comes into your football club and takes over. Then you'll see unreasonable.
Well, I mean, Abramovich was always very open about that.
It's my club.
That's it. It's my club. So I think that it's a possibility, but until other or people with that kind of money come along, and I think that those people would be out there, but until they are, until they're not just out there, they're actually coming in and dealing with it, then I don't see it changing at the moment. And as I say, I don't sense from a lot of the current owners a desperation to sell. I mean, Dave King shares have been available now for 3 years?
Well, they tried that Club 1872 thing, didn't they? And that fell flat on its arse.
But that was a couple of years ago, I think, minimum now, since he withdrew that. So they've been on the market for a while. But it will take people from within the business world. I can't, again, people say, well, why don't you? And I mean, guys, I don't know any billionaires, right? They don't go to the same places I go to. It'll take people from within that world to bring people to the table. But see, if they did, Rangers are still a very attractive proposition.